All right. First late power rankings of the season. I was in St. Louis for work this week, so I'm like a day late getting back from there. So I'm recording this Thursday night. I'm actually watching the Rams game. And Kyron just scored, so good job, or congrats to Caleb for that. Um, yeah, I almost debated not even doing a power ranking this week, but so much happened. I was trying to keep up with it in terms of like not just player movement, but like important players moving around that I did want to kind of weigh in. Like obviously on the performance of the teams, but also like, power ranking. How do I think some of those moves are going to like impact how good our teams are? So let's see if I can get through these quick. Maybe I'll spend less time looking at individual teams and more times on the rankings. I do already have rankings done, but we'll scroll through some teams here. If anything jumps out to me to call out. Yeah, Scotty's team had a down week last week, but they had a great week this week, so he bounces back up. He already moved up my rankings. The Kareem Hunt poll has turned out to be great for him. But yeah, otherwise I think I'm not going to comment on too many individual players on these teams. Like I have thoughts on A-Chain and yeah, I kind of had some ideas in my head already that I used whenever I was doing the rankings, so I'll kind of explain those when we get there. But yeah, solid week from Scotty. He's going to move up the rankings. His team has been solid. They had a little bit of a down week last week, but still great. Carl's team, yeah, he has another legendary pull here with Bigsby, pretty much taking over this backfield in Jacksonville. So that's pretty awesome. His team is still just like sufficiently average, in my opinion. Down week this week, I don't think he is a upper tier team still, but the extra wins he has, he gets his first loss, which doesn't help. But we'll see if he built enough of a lead and if he can hang on to get into the playoffs in the back half of the season. Well, a lot of that's going to depend, of course, on what happens with this Jaden Daniels injury. I was looking at his stats after I just said I'm not going to talk on too many individual players. But Jaden Daniels, he has like over 50 carries through 6 weeks, and now he's going to miss at least, he essentially missed last week. He's going to miss this week, it sounds like. At least that, yeah, just all this running for somebody, for a quarterback. We kind of knew it was going to run into him at some point. So yeah, we'll see how serious it is, but it's not good because he's been one of Carl's MVPs. Yeah, having CD on bye. Yeah, I mean, Carl's team is what it is. There really wasn't too much movement this week, as a spoiler alert, if you're just really curious. Next, we'll look at Logan's team. Still just like solid. Baker, he might get knocked a little bit. We're gonna have to see how the offense plays out in Tampa Bay. Madison still is getting carries. There's a few running backs that like aren't very efficient, but they just keep getting like bulk work. It's kind of a dream to have that on your team. And Madison is one of those guys where he's really not all that special, but if you're getting the ball 20 times a game. Derrick Henry might finish as running back 1 now. Malik Neighbors coming back is great. The DeAndre Hopkins, that's one of those moves, right? Is Hopkins to the Chiefs as of like today. So I think that's a big bump for Logan's team. Or not big, but that's like a solid get. So yeah, I mean solid score from Logan, not killing it. The score doesn't really worry me as much as dropping down to 3 and 4 kind of sucks, but we still have a lot of week to go. And he was playing, of course, Andrew. I mean, what is there to say? Continues to be elite. Yeah, all of his players are just absolutely crushing it. Lamar is like almost a lock for the MVP at this point. I don't even know who else is close in the league to challenge him for MVP, unless he gets hurt or something. But yeah, just an amazing team here from Carlo for another second place finish in like 6 out of 7 weeks. Mark's team gets the dub, a nice score, nice fill in from Jordan Love. Mixon coming back, that's awesome. His team is also going to take a big jump, or not a big jump. No one's taking a big jump or a big fall, but having Tyreek back, hopefully with Tua, it's going to be huge. Otherwise, yeah, like these were the kind of scores I was expecting from Mark's team. So maybe, if he can keep the consistency here, he's going to fly up the board. And then Caleb's team, again, still solid. Unfortunate, really unfortunate, because it's a decent score here. And he just got a bad schedule matchup, down to 2-5. That kind of sucks because his points are pretty decent on the season. But 2-5 is, you'd rather be fighting for a wins-based position in the playoffs, not points. So unfortunate for there. Brees, after 2 horrible games, Robert Saleh gets fired, and Brees immediately goes back to like a top 3 running back. So I think he's going to continue doing more of what he did at the beginning of the year and these last couple games. Braylon Allen, I just dropped him. They've just like written him off, which I don't blame him. Brees is just like very, very productive. So yeah, that's going to be big. And then Kyron just scored a touchdown for the Rams like a few minutes ago. This is a big knock. Debo out this week. He's like sick and sounds like he has pneumonia, but I don't know. We don't know if he's going to play this week against the Cowboys, and he has a bye. So you're kind of like losing one of your top guys here for essentially like a few weeks, but that didn't help you in this week at all. Otherwise, yeah, I mean, not much Caleb can do. It kind of is what it is. Oh, and cool. Okay, cool. I thought that was Justin Jefferson. It wasn't. The Vikings just scored a touchdown, but it's some dude I've never heard of. And I'm playing Scotty this week, so I was worried it was Justin Jefferson. All right, and then we'll go to Chris's team. Hey, Darnold's out here throwing touchdowns. Yeah, still just not great. I mean, 85, not great. Drake London continues to be okay. That's good. Otherwise, nothing really to write home about. Not really a huge change. Pretty normal score for Chris at this point, week to week. And 0-7. Like, yeah, what do you even do? I don't know. I'm sorry, man. And then K-Man's team, yeah, solid week. Got the win. The negative here. So he gets... I'll kind of like weigh this in with the rest of the teams, but he obviously has 2 of the biggest player swings, week 7/week 8 here. Losing Chris Godwin for the season is obviously huge. He's number 2 receiver this year. That's a massive loss, but it lines up perfectly with Puka coming back, who's playing right now. Dropped his first pass, but he is in the game. He's looking pretty decent actually. So I huge loss with one guy, but a huge get back with Puka. I think overall that's a net probably negative because Puka's not going to come in and probably perform at wide receiver 2 level, so it probably is a little bit of a ding on Matt, but hopefully it's not too horrible. So we'll have to see how that goes for Matt, but he did get the win this week. His team hasn't been incredible all season. Someone's making moves right now. But he still has the 4-3 record. So his points are still not great, but he is winning the games he needs to win, like against Krams' team. So he's definitely keeping himself in the hunt. So good job on that one, K-Man. Tron gets a win just because he's playing John, who I think had the low score for now the 3rd week in a row. John did. But yeah, Tron's team is still not very good. He has some dudes who do well. He obviously is another one of the big suffering teams this week from injuries. Ayuk out for the year. Pretty painful. He really wasn't posting consistent scores to help win anyway, but he is still a talented player, and you hate losing talented players. But I mean, truthfully, it wasn't going to matter anyway. Tron's team just doesn't have the dudes this year, or at least with C-Mac out for such a long time. He's not going to have the dudes for long enough to probably make any moves. like playoffs wise. So, I mean, keep plugging away. You are 3-4. Things could break the right way if you rattle off a few lucky wins in the back half of the season. You could, who knows? Crazier things have happened. Poor John. Yeah, there's really no crazy things that could happen for John, unfortunately. The Josh Allen trade, I guess, is paying off. He's putting up scores. Etienne is still maybe injured. It depends on the week. Otherwise, yeah, just like nothing really to write home about, I guess. Rashad White. Cooper Kupp, that's another one. He's playing right now, too. We'll see. We'll see, one, if he still is playing well, and two, we'll see if he gets traded. As of Thursday night, he has not been traded, but Twitter seems to think this might be his last week in Los Angeles. And then my team, we do enough to get the win. There's really, I think, more about Travis's team not performing. 115 is fine. It's a respectable score. Nothing crazy. Stroud really screwed the pooch. That's a really bad score from him. But the rest of my team, Bijan got the message. He's stepping up big time. Mark Andrews caught a couple tutties. Losing Mike Evans sucks. Of course, he's going to be out probably about a month. But Devontae coming back, he's had a slow week, but I'm really not worried about him. I think he's going to step in, and I don't know if he'll replace Mike Evans's productivity, but I don't think they're that far off, at least talent-wise. We'll just see if Rodgers can get him the ball. And then Chubb coming back too. He wasn't very efficient, but he did get a touchdown in his first game back, and we're going to see what that offense looks like now. I think it's going to help. There really isn't much worth owning on the Cleveland offense. I guess just like Chubb and Njoku, but with Deshaun going down for the year, I actually think it's going to help these two guys because he was just that bad. So, I've held on to Chubb for half a season, basically burning a roster spot. We're going to see if it pays off in the second half of the year. I don't know yet. Travis's team, really, still not worried about him. It is a down week. I think it's just a lot of unfortunate things lining up. Really, like, the hats off to the Broncos defense bottling up Kamara in the Saints offense. They've really been struggling since Carr's been out, and Spencer Rattler just hasn't looked good, and that offense hasn't looked good. But I still think Kamara's going to eat. He'll be fine. I'm really, like I said, I'm not really worried about Travis's team. I am worried about Tank Dell. He dropped a touchdown this week, and he's just like not performing like he was last year. I don't know what is up with that. I think the Texans I don't know. They got to do something with him. But even if that doesn't shake out, I think Nico is only out for another couple weeks anyway, and then he'll get back a top 5 receiver. So, yeah, disappointing week for Travis. I'm sure he'd like to get another win, but I'm, he's not going to drop very much. So really, I guess I would say overall there wasn't too many huge scores or terrible scores that were surprising. I feel like this week kind of the good teams were good and the bad teams were bad. Now, if there is a talking point, I'll just reveal the rankings here. It's all the injuries and players returning that were like most impactful, I guess. So the big ones that I just captured were Mike Evans is out for a few weeks. There's lots of injuries. These are just like the fantasy relevant ones. Ayuk and Godwin out for the year. Jaden Daniels I called out was like a big one. Logan does lose Jamison Williams, who has been a productive member of his team, to a PED suspension or something for 2 weeks. So like just dudes dropping like flies, unfortunately. But we also have got a lot of really important dudes coming back. C-Mac, it sounds like, is ramping up. Nico Collins, from what I've seen from the Texans beat reporters, he's supposed to be on track to come back like basically at the end of IR. From what I read, the Texans even debated putting him on IR. Like they thought it might only be a 3-ish week injury, but they wanted the roster spot, so they just like erred on the side of caution, which it sounds like maybe the Bucs should have done with Mike Evans and his leg injury. But I think Nico's healed up from what I've read pretty well, so hopefully the Texans get him back. And then Puka and Cooper Kupp, they're playing tonight. Jonathan Taylor is supposed to come back. So again, Logan's like losing a guy but gaining a guy. The other ones that I called out here was Logan. Another one of Logan's big players is Baker. Um, he's like a number 2 quarterback. He's like having the best year of his career, but he just lost Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, right? So like 2 top 10 receivers, and he has no names behind him, like dudes I've never even heard of. So I do think that knocks Logan's team just because having a super high end quarterback is really difficult to replace. It's relatively easy to find a 15, 18 point quarterback. It's really difficult to find a 25 point plus quarterback every week, which is what Baker has been. So you're kind of like potentially losing 5 to 10 points a week on average out of your quarterback unless Baker can like work a miracle. And then I called out Tua's coming back this week, which I don't know if Tua is going to be fantasy relevant, but I think it basically just helps all these high scoring players from last year from fantasy. I think it's nothing but good news for these guys because they've all been pretty much useless, to be honest. It's been really hard to watch any of them play with Tua out. So I think him coming back has helped a lot. And then I guess I could call it what do you call it, like an addition by subtraction. I called Watson out. Watson dying helps Njoku and Chubb, and I don't even know who their number 1 receiver is now. It's who is it? It's I forget his name. Somebody that probably won't matter. But I do think it helps these guys maybe a little bit. We'll see how that offense runs. It would be hard for the offense to get worse. So, yeah, just lots of like movement. Guys dropping out, but other important names coming back. Like I said, not much movement this week just because everyone, like I said, performed about as expected. Andrew obviously stays at the top. Scotty's team, they have a great week, high score. And I think that can continue. He's shown that he could drop a little bit, but I think his team is good enough that they deserve to move up a little bit. Maybe if nothing else, just because Carl has a down week. He gets his first loss. His score wasn't particularly good, only an 80. Logan's team, kind of the same. You know, they had a little bit better score, but he still only has 3 wins. So he to catch up to even to Carl, he's got a ways to go. But still like a solid team. So Scotty just kind of jumps those 2 guys. Me and Travis, I just left us where we were. We have the same record. My team has scored a little bit better, a little more recently. So that's that. Mark does move up 1. He jumped Caleb, mainly because he has the 4 wins. And Caleb losing this week absolutely does not help him. So yeah, Mark has a solid performance, and he starts moving up the board. And again, if he scores another 126, that could easily keep going up. Caleb's team is fine, and Brees Hall looks good, and Kyron's out here just like running all over the field, and yeah, this feels like this team. I mean, the metrics say this team should be better, but it's going to be hard to, maybe you're setting yourself up for one of the point spots if the rest of the good teams actually keep winning. So, and then everyone else basically just stays the same. I really didn't see enough in here. I know we called out, Matt loses Godwin, but he gets back Puka. Like I feel like it just kind of shakes out. Tron loses Ayuk, but he might get back C-Mac in a few weeks. We just don't know. And then Chris and John's team, just like nothing has happened enough for me to believe in them. I guess John has the 1 win, but he is, if we go look at our weekly wins here, he has not even, in the last 3 weeks, he hasn't even had 1 league win, let's call it. So at least Krams beats him there, I guess. I don't know. So John's going to hold on to the last place spot for now. But yeah, this is week 7 scores. Really not too much movement, but I did just want to record something just to call out some of the these feel like pretty significant player swings, like the names that are going out and the names that are coming back. So I think that does make the the second half of the year pretty interesting in terms of like how do you manage some of these offenses. How is the Browns offense going to perform? How is the Tampa Bay offense and their now they have 3 running backs and like no wide receivers, and how does that affect Baker, and how does that affect all those running backs, and how does that I just think it's really interesting. Same with the 49ers. Jordan Mason was dinged up. C-Mac is going to come back in a few weeks. Debo is out with a mysterious illness like pneumonia or something. Ayuk is out for the season, but they're also getting back Ricky Parasol, who I just got off of waivers. I don't know if he's going to be good, but like he's a first-round wide receiver on an offense that has no weapons right now. So, just like a lot of movement in the NFL. I think it's going to set up for a cool second half of the year. But anyway, nothing too crazy this week, power rankings wise. But here is what I had as my final rankings, and we'll see how Thursday night goes and see how the rest of week 8 goes, and we'll jump into the second half of the season, boys. So anyway, that's it, and that's all. Later.